Got it. I got it. I got it now. Okay. Okay. So thanks a lot. You guys can all hear me now. You can see me now. That's the bad part. But like I said, when I was muted, this is either going to be the coolest thing you're going to listen to or the stupidest thing you're going to listen to, but we'll have a lot of fun doing it. This is a bunch of little pocket reminder cards that my very first professional mentor, a guy named Bob Cree, back in 1977, gave me. And I've kept them. In fact, they're on my desk as we speak right now. And so it's been a lot of fun to kind of look back at some of this stuff. There we go. Now, Carlin and I go way back. And Carlin, thank you for asking. I can't believe I kept this, but we used to be a dance routine. All right, enough of that. So grew up in Petoskey. There was one of the speakers at my retirement thing that kind of talked about me growing up in this Norman Rockwell community. And that's so true. And those of us all know that because of, Petoskey is so special. But, we're a multi-generational Northern Michigan family. That's my dad and about the middle of that bunch of men there, men and one woman. Those are my uncle, my grandparents, my uncles, and my one aunt on the porch of the post office up in Carp Lake, Michigan. That's me skiing at Walloon Hills. We all learned to ski at the Petoskey Winter Sports Park. And then we graduated to Walloon Hills and then ultimately to Nubbs Knob and Boyne Highlands. You can see I was really serious, grabbing that rope tow, heading up the slope. And fishing with my dad, we used to go out, we'd fish all over the place, but fish out in the bay. And I think he took me along so we could get a few extra fish on the limits for the day. But we used to have a lot of fun doing that. Growing up, and these I think are the only pictures you guys have already seen. The rest of them I think are new stuff. But again, did all the stuff that everybody did. I got the chance to play baseball with the Meyer boys, and scouting was a big part of my life. I was an Eagle Scout, or am an Eagle Scout, and I worked at summer camp in the summers and when I was in high school. And that went on to be a bigger part of my life, which I'll talk about later. Hockey. I see Grace Ketchum's on the call here today. Clark Ketchum was the Parks and Rec director at the time. For my Eagle Scout project, I worked with Clark and we organized a Northern Michigan Youth Hockey League. There weren't enough kids anywhere to play. And so we established teams in Rogers City, Sheboygan, Sault Ste. Marie, St. Ignace, Traverse City. I think that's all of them in Petoskey. And so we all had a chance to play. And boy, what a ragtag group. I'm in the upper right-hand picture of that. No idea I remember my hair being that long, but anyway, and then obviously the famous Bowlapalooza teams, which you've all been part of also. So you've all heard my shtick that I've been kicked out of town a couple of times and fortunate enough to find my way back. So here's where I went. So I left Petoskey the first time, headed down to West Virginia. From West Virginia, hit the panhandle of Florida. From there up to Tuscaloosa, Alabama. That was the first round out of town. And then I came back to Petoskey. And then from there, went over to Wisconsin for a little bit. And then they kicked me out of Wisconsin, made me come back to Petoskey. So that's my professional loop right there. And I tell you, Petoskey obviously is our favorite place to live, but I enjoyed living in every single place that I've been. I have a lot of good friends in each of those places and did a lot of cool stuff and enjoyed every single place. So here's the obligatory Andy Hayes time-lapse photos. I thought I'd just get this out of the way right from the beginning. And Dave, I put that picture of me and the broken leg in for you. We were talking the other day about me breaking my leg skiing. We had a snow day at school that day. And my older brother Steve worked at Boyne Highlands. And so we went out there and went skiing at Boyne Highlands. And it didn't end so well for me that day. But anyway, so these are all the many faces of Andy Hayes over the years. And you can see I've absolutely not changed a bit. So when I graduated high school, I didn't go right to college. I wasn't ready to do it. I knew eventually I would. So I bounced around. I worked in a body shop for a little bit. I did the old hippie van thing to California, did all that stuff. And I was back in Petoskey working at a factory on the assembly line. And the boss said, hey, this will be something in between and you get something better, that's great. Well, 11 o'clock on a Thursday night in June, I got a call from a friend of mine who was a Boy Scout executive down in West Virginia. And he wanted to know if I wanted to come down and be their camp cook for the summer. They needed a cook for about 12 weeks, feeding 150 to 200 people a day, 3 meals a week kind of thing. And I said, boy, I'm not a cook. He says, well, you know how to make French toast? You know how to make scrambled eggs? Yeah, okay. He says, I used to be a mess sergeant in the Army, so I'll teach you how to do it for big groups. So I said, you got it. So at 11:05, I called my boss and quit my job. And at 5 a.m. that day, that next morning, I loaded my car up and I headed to Almost Heaven, West Virginia. I'd never even heard of this place before. And anyway, so I get down there and we didn't dare tell everyone that they were hiring a 19-year-old kid that had never done it before. So we told everybody that I was a 23-year-old professional chef that had just got out of culinary school and was helping out my buddy Gary for the summer. Now, there were about 4 or 5 people that actually knew how old I really was. We made sure the right people knew, but just had an absolute blast. It all worked out well and fell in love with West Virginia and the people. And oh my gosh, what a poor state though. Oh man, it's so poor down there, but just absolutely loved it. And so I ended up in that fall enrolling at Marshall. And for those of you who aren't aware, Marshall is the school that their entire football team and a lot of the boosters and coaching staff were killed in a plane crash back in 1970. So I was there a few years after that. And the movie We Are Marshall is actually pretty good depiction of what it was like. So that's the memorial fountain on campus. My mom and dad were visiting me. I'm sure that was probably back in the early 77-ish when I was there. So I enrolled at Marshall. I had qualified as a resident, so that helped the tuition costs. And started working a couple of jobs like you do to put yourself through school. And then the Boy Scouts offered me a full-time position as a professional Boy Scout executive, provided that I also kept full-time at school, carried a full load at school. And so that was my life for the next 4.5 years. And I got married, had a kid in there. And but really that enabled me to get a jump start on my career and graduate from college without any debt. And which I knew was important, but I didn't realize how important it was until my kids went to college, 20 some years later. But one of the jobs that I had while I was there was I was the camp director. Every summer I directed camp, and I was a rec major. I have a degree in recreation. So that all fit in pretty well. And it was kind of fun going through these photos. This was one of the camp staffs. I'm the guy in the upper left with the dark green shirt and the big broad hat on. And but I kind of looked through that and I remember just about everybody in that picture and some of the shenanigans that these guys would get into. And but that was just a great experience while I was doing that every summer too. So this was the 10 years that I was a professional scout executive. I was in 3 locations. I was in Huntington, West Virginia, covering a couple of counties right in the Appalachian Mountains. And then I was in the Panhandle of Florida. The office was in Pensacola. I worked out of my house in Panama City Beach and covered kind of the far end from Panama City Beach all the way to Mexico Beach, Apalachicola, Port St. Joe, kind of down in that neck of the woods. And you can see me on the right. Oh my God, I look like I'm about 14 years old, but that's when I started. And then the group on the left, that I was a field director. By the time I got to Tuscaloosa, Alabama, I was the number 2 guy on the staff. The boss was on the far right. And as a field director, I hired the professional staff, which were the 4 on the left. And the thing that probably amazed me most, shocked me most when I got to Alabama, and remember, I'd been in the South for a little bit, is how segregated everything was. I mean, schools were segregated, churches were segregated, a scouting program was segregated, sports was segregated. And so we worked through that and continued to serve kids. And one of the things I'm pretty proud of is by the time we left, we actually had our first ever integrated camporee. A camporee is where a bunch of troops all get together and they camp together and do little competitions and everything else. So we were able to do an integrated camporee. Also, the young lady in that picture, that her name is Carolyn, and she was the first at the time, the first female scout executive, professional scout executive hired in the South. So I'm very proud of that opportunity. She did a great job. So that was that era. Then I love the North, love Petoskey, love winter. So I had a chance to come back and be part of the Petoskey Chamber. And it was pretty funny. And again, don't have a lot of pictures from this. It was, at least I haven't got down to those boxes much, but really I was at the Petoskey Chamber for about 8 years and just loved it. And we really had a lot of fun, really grew the chamber. The chamber went through a lot of growth during that period. And we also started really taking on some pretty substantial projects and things like that. I try to, that was my time, and every chamber director kind of takes the organization to another level. And that was my time to do a few things there. Many of you know Ann and Karen, the two ladies in the middle there. They were right hand, left hand, and the middle. But there was different staff that we worked with during the time. The three of us were together the whole time, and Diane knows them very well. Obviously worked with Diane at the Convention Bureau there, but just a great group, and it's very humbling and exciting to make an impact on a community that you grew up in and you love so much. I look at the chamber now and what Stu Sandstrom and then Carlin Smith, and then I know Nikki will also. I've just taken that organization to a whole nother level, and so fun to see that it just continues to grow. So, by the way, the far left, that's Jackie Burrell and I. It was so great. We had obviously a 50s style themed event. I didn't even have to get a costume. I just went in the closet and pulled out my usual Friday outfit. So it was pretty good. And I also like my kids like the mustache, which will probably never come back. But anyway. So then I was recruited. I'd never been recruited for a job before. And so I got a call from a community, from a guy who wanted me to go down to Janesville, Wisconsin, which is in southern Wisconsin. It's about 10 miles from the Wisconsin border, and or from the Illinois border, excuse me. Well, Wisconsin border too. And so this was, I've grown every single job I've ever professionally at every step of the way. But the 5 years I was here, I probably experienced the most professional growth that, that helped me kind of end up where I'm doing what I've been doing lately. But boy, big businesses, international companies. I mean, we were working with General Motors, Parker Pen, Gillette, Huffcore. I mean, big companies and, big dollars. And that really, as my career evolved over the years, great staffs. We also were very involved legislatively. We had a couple of lobbyists on our staff. In fact, you'll see Paul Ryan and Dick Armey. Dick Armey was the Speaker of the House at the time. We would actually recruit candidates, and then we would actually have classes where we would teach people how to run for office. And it's funny, we all like to claim the superstars, but we actually, Paul Ryan went through our course before he ran for the House. And now he could have taught the course, obviously. But yeah, so he was a great guy and from Janesville. And now the group on the left, that's the five of the seven there. That was the core group that were together the whole time. And we are still great friends today. And in fact, the Zoom photo on the left was taken probably 2 weeks ago, and where we touch base, and but just a great group, and really enjoyed Janesville. We just realized after a while that even though we could have stayed there, it was time to come home. So I got a kick out of going through some of the stuff. This was they threw a little going away party to make sure that I was actually leaving, and so this was a newspaper the local paper put together that was pretty hilarious, and I got a kick out of rereading this the other day. It was pretty funny to how they love to poke fun at you as you go. So anyway, but we knew we had to come back to Michigan. We had to be a bigger part of. I had 3 kids from a previous marriage. We needed to be part of their lives. They needed to be part of ours. So we made the decision, we moved back. So I did like everybody else would do. I started networking. I started, calling people to say, hey, we've got to move back. And so the first and last call I made was to Michelle Courtright. And many of you know Michelle. Michelle owns the Harbor House Publishers, which is a publishing company in Boyne City that works all over the state, really the Midwest, doing economic development publications, visitor guides, chamber membership directories, that kind of stuff. And so she said, don't call anyone else. I'll create a position, you're in. And so I became the executive vice president of Harbor House, and great company, high standards. Michelle is an absolute superstar, quite a practical joker. So at the time, my first foray into this, Traverse City was a big account of ours up here, and they had a new chamber director named Doug Luciani. And a couple of you guys, I know Carlin and a couple others may know Doug. So we wanted to impress him, or I wanted to impress him that, hey, we would actually work really hard on their account. So I created this superhero outfit and sent that to him before I even had a chance to meet him. And that was pretty funny. And so since then, the whole time I was there, the Harbor House crew kidded me relentlessly about being a superhero and all that. You can kind of see some of that stuff on there. The other thing that was pretty funny is, so Holland was also another big account of ours. And so we always designed things that had tulips on the front of it. And so that particular year, they wanted hey, give us a publication, give us an option that does not have tulips. So unbeknownst to Michelle, I worked with the creative department and we put together our own little Tulips of Holland front cover. So as you can imagine, that did not make the cut when the client was choosing which ones to do. But anyway, so I was at Harbor House for about 5 years, and Michelle and I are still really good friends today. And she encouraged me or assisted me in moving to my next level, and that's to get to where most of you know me from the last 15 years, is with the Northern Lakes Economic Alliance. And the NLEA, we're an economic development organization, we're a public-private organization, we're regional, and so really doing meaningful work, and just absolutely loved it. You can see over the years, just have had just an incredible group of staff that I've been able to work with. Great interns every summer. In fact, the picture kind of in the center at the very top, we actually had 4 interns one summer. That was, usually we had 2. That was, all 4 were great. And one of them is Carlin's daughter, actually. And, but just very dedicated group and fun to work with, creative. And this kind of work is actually pretty hard work. I mean, it's not as easy as these guys would make it look. And so that's what also made it very enjoyable, is they really knew how to work hard, but we also had a lot of fun doing it. Again, projects, enjoyed working with manufacturers, the entrepreneurship pitch night programs, government work, helping companies get through red tape so they can grow. Upper left-hand corner is the Fab Lab. That's probably one of the things I'm most proud of. That was something that really responded to a need, a training need that the manufacturers had. And we took about 13 different organizations to figure, we put together funding packages and how to do it, where to build it, how to build it, what to put in there, so we could bundle this thing up and give it to the college. And so we were able to give that to North Central. And man, they just have run with it. They have taken that, they've hired staff, they've managed that thing. And if you go to the college today, you'll see that Fab Lab park where they park it. And you get up close to it and it looks like it's right off the showroom floor. I mean, they've really done a super job of maintaining that. And it's really, to this day, been a very, very cool thing. But that's a great example of everybody, public and private, all coming together to work on that. So I've put this slide in just to remind me to tell you that Rotary has been a big part of my professional life and personal life, actually, all these years. With the exception of Alabama, I was in a Rotary Club during all of those, every bit of those stages that I mentioned. And so being able to get to know people that are all really great people, good at what they do, all want to come together so they can make an impact on their town is just exciting. And I have no intention of leaving Petoskey, but if we ever do, first thing I'll do in a new community would be reach out and just, find the Rotary Club and see if they'll have me as a club member. So Rotary has been very fun and very meaningful part of this. So anyway, so with that, Cindy and I are really excited about retiring. She's working probably about 15, 20 hours a week right now. I probably will be finding something I've learned already this is now my 3rd week of retirement, that I'll probably end up doing something, but we're looking forward to doing all the stuff that retired people do. And but probably the one thing all through my career that I've been most fortunate, most appreciative of, is all the people. I mean, the people that we have met all the way at every stage of the journey have been super. And I've known that people want to do the right thing. They want to do good. And sometimes we just have to kind of organize and get everybody all pointing in the same direction. But anyway, but it's been great. And thank you very much. And I think that's that. So let's stop share. And I doubt there would be any questions, but if there is, I'd be happy to answer them in the next minute or so before the meeting's over.
Hey, Andy, I just want to thank you for participating in this community as much as you have, because for us, we joined Rotary back in early mid 2005, 6, 7, something like that. Early on for us, we just moved here in 2005, and you've been a member of my life ever since then. And all the things that Rotary's accomplished, the opportunities it's provided us as friends, as outlook. I mean, look at us, I'm sitting at 25 people that I wouldn't have a chance to meet and know if it wasn't for this club. And you've been a major part of that for us with all the things you arranged, working with the run that we tried to do through Bayview and how challenging that was competing with everybody else. But thank you for everything you've accomplished. That was a great presentation, and what a great career you've had. So continue on, and we're really proud of you. Thank you.
Yep. Thank you.
Thank you for that.
Okay, there we go.
Yeah, thanks, Andy. Sorry, I'm getting feedback. You really have made a huge impact in the community, and I'm sure everyone here, and even who's not here today. So thank you for sharing your career reflections.
You can blame it on Carla.
And with that, we have an